You clock in, coffee's still warm, you open your laptop, there's a company-wide email waiting in your inbox. Your coworker Kyle, the remote developer everyone liked, was fired overnight. Because Kyle is a North Korean spy. This isn't a movie. This happened to a cybersecurity company. The kind of company that's supposed to stop hackers. So, in July 2024, KnowBe4, one of the world's largest security awareness platforms, hired a new software engineer named Kyle. He received his company laptop on a Tuesday. 25 minutes later, 25 minutes, their security systems lit up. Kyle was installing malware on his first day, before he'd written a single line of code. But here's what kept me up at night researching this. FBI estimates North Korea has placed thousands of fake employees inside American companies. Fortune 500s, tech startups, even government contractors. And the head of Google's threat intelligence team said something that should terrify every hiring manager in America. Nearly every Fortune 500 security chief I've spoken to admits they've hired at least one. So how does a country that can barely keep the lights on place spies inside the world's most sophisticated companies? It's not what you'd expect. Step 1. They steal your identity. North Korean operatives scrape LinkedIn, GitHub, job boards, anywhere professionals post their information. They stitch together fake identities using real people's work histories. But they need a face, so they use AI. This is the actual photo Kyle submitted to KnowBe4. Same person. Different enough to fool facial recognition. But here's the problem. They can't actually be in America. So how do you make it look like you're logging in from Kansas when you're actually in Pyongyang? You get an American to help. They call them laptop farms. The North Korean logs in remotely from overseas. The laptop pings from Arizona. HR sees nothing wrong. One woman ran 90 laptops at the same time. 90. Now you might be thinking, okay, but they'd get caught in the interview, right? Video calls, face-to-face. Surely someone would notice a Korean accent when Kyle from Texas shows up on Zoom. Actually, they use real-time deepfakes. The face you see is generated in real time to match the stolen identity. Voice-changing software masks the accent. Some even make men sound like women. 4 interviews, and nobody at KnowBe4 suspected a thing. And look, if it can happen to a cybersecurity company whose entire business is teaching people to spot scams, it can happen to anyone. And Christina Chapman got along great with people she'd never met. In 2020, she was broke, living in a rundown trailer in rural Minnesota, posting on TikTok about her financial struggles. Then, someone messaged her on LinkedIn, asked if she wanted to be the US face of a company, help some remote IT workers get jobs. No tech experience required. She said yes. Over the next 3 years, Christina received company laptops from more than 300 American companies. She set them up at her house, verified employment for workers she'd never met, collected paychecks on their behalf. $17 million funneled directly to North Korea's weapons program. In February 2025, Christina Chapman pleaded guilty to conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. She's serving 8.5 years in federal prison. Another man in Maryland was recruited through a video game. Someone messaged him while he was playing, offered him money to use his identity for remote work. And here's where it gets strange, because I kept asking myself, who are these North Korean workers? The answer is weirder than I expected. Most of these workers aren't in North Korea. They're deployed to China and Russia. They live in dormitories. They work 14 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, every week, and they keep less than 20% of what they earn. The rest goes to Pyongyang to fund missiles and luxury goods for Kim's inner circle. $88 million from just one group of 14 workers over 6 years. $300 million per year across all North Korean IT operations. The FBI estimates up to $1 billion funneled to the regime in the past 5 years. And here's why this affects you, even if you never hire anyone. Remember those stolen identities? The LinkedIn profile scraped to build fake resumes? Imagine you apply for a job next year. Background check comes back weird. Turns out your name and work history were used by a North Korean operative at 6 different companies. How do you explain that to HR? Sorry, a foreign intelligence service stole my resume isn't exactly a standard answer. So next time you're on a video call with a new coworker you've never met in person, the remote developer who's a little camera shy, the contractor whose time zone doesn't quite add up, maybe take a closer look. I'm Control. If you made it this far, subscribe, because the next story is somehow weirder.